Today, I'm going to teach you how embodiment and self-intimacy is going to help you connect deeply with healthy love. And I am talking about this today because what comes up a lot with my one-on-one clients is this fear of feeling like they want too much or that they are too much. So I am here to normalize your fear of quote unquote too much and to tell you where it actually comes from and why it is a myth and how you can flip that so that you can open yourself up to more confidence that just comes naturally. And so that you can be able to open yourself up to fully receiving healthy love and creating more healthy love in your life. Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen in healthy relationships. On this show, we talk about self-love, sexuality, relationship tips, including ending the cycle of toxic relationships, and healing and thriving after heartbreak. Hi, I'm your host, Celia, and I am a certified sex, love, and relationship coach, helping ambitious women with a history of toxic relationships feel deeply connected in healthy love. These are such important topics that every woman deserves, so if you could leave this show a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help more women find this, it would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here today. Now let's dive into the show. Today, I'm going to teach you how embodiment and self-intimacy is going to help you connect deeply with healthy love. And I am talking about this today because what comes up a lot with my one-on-one clients is this fear of feeling like they want too much or that they are too much. So I am here to normalize your fear of quote unquote too much and to tell you where it actually comes from and why it is a myth and how you can flip that so that you can open yourself up to more confidence that just comes naturally. And so that you can be able to open yourself up to fully receiving healthy love and creating more healthy love in your life. So welcome to today's podcast. And I want to invite you to first check in and see, how are you doing right now? Maybe putting a hand on your heart and just taking a couple of deep breaths as you drop into this episode. And if you are watching the video, we are in a new space. I think this is my second time recording here, and I am still figuring out the lighting of this place. In my old office, I actually had much better lighting than this, and I'm currently not happy with the lighting here. I think I'm going to have to paint these walls white. They're currently like a very light beige color. The house came like this. So I think I'm going to have to do that to brighten this place up. But checking in, how are you doing? Dropping in, and welcome to this podcast. If you are new, welcome back if you are an avid listener. And if you have listened to this episode before or to this podcast before, and you have not yet given us a rating on Apple, I am currently working on getting the first 200 5-star reviews. So if you can go and be a generous, wonderful human that you are and tap that little 5-star button on the bottom of the Apple screen. And if you're listening on Spotify, there's also a little thing at the top to rate this. And I would very much appreciate the 5 stars. It's totally free. And thank you so much for doing that. So let's talk about this fear of being too much and why it is a myth, why it's a myth. And first of all, this fear of being too much, what this does in the realm of love in the realm of dating, in the realm of sexuality, even in self-love, is it makes you shrink. It makes you hold back. It makes you not say what it is that you want to say. It makes you not show up in your fullness. And this is holding you back. And I just want to normalize that this fear of being too much, and even like the thought of, if you're single and if you think of all the things that you would want in a partner, or if you are in a relationship and you think of the things that you want in your current relationship, if you list those down, or if you just speak them out loud, or whatever it is that you do with them, if you see all those things and you think, oh, am I too much? Am I asking for too much? This episode is for you, because this is not, it's not true. And it's something that comes up a lot. It's so common. I see it all the time in my private one-on-one coaching practice. And I think one of the main things, so to kind of take this first very like bird's eye view and to zoom out, I think one of the main reasons why ambitious women, specifically with a history of toxic relationships, have this fear of being too much is because the patriarchy conditions us to think that we are too much. The patriarchy teaches us to be anxious in love. And when I say the patriarchy, I'm not one of those feminists that's like hates on men and thinks we should blame men for all our problems. I think that is very toxic. But patriarchy is the word for this system that has been around for so long that we're all individually keeping it alive subconsciously. And to illustrate how this patriarchy conditioning is kept alive, I think a really good non-threatening way to explain this is by bringing up, there's this, oh, I wish I remembered her name. There's this stand-up comedy set. It's a comedian who, she's based in the UK. Can't remember her name. I have her face in my mind, but I can't remember her name at this time. She talks about in one of her sets, she talks about the difference in relationship between a mother and a daughter and a mother and a son. And the thing about comedy is people laugh at a joke when it is based in truth, because you're like, oh, that is so true. It's hilarious because it's so true. And what this person was saying, she was basically describing a woman's relationship with her son, and saying how, first of all, she started this out with saying, I know this is a generalization and not like every mom is like this, but she said between a mother and a son, there's this like, oh, you can do anything. Oh, let me do that for you. There's like a very just like kind of like a babying and a like feeding the confidence of this boy, which is totally great. We should feed the confidence of all kids. But then the punchline of the joke is, after she describes all these things between mother and their son, she's like, oh, you can do anything. Mommy will do it for you. Go out there and achieve and, have a great life, and like you can win and all that stuff. And then when she cuts to, and here's what mothers and daughters are like, and she just puts this like look on her face, this kind of like scowl, and she just goes, you look fat in that. That's all she says. And the crowd starts laughing. And the reason why the crowd starts laughing is because this is a general truth. Like, everyone who was laughing has either had that experience with their mom or grandmother or some woman in their life, or knows someone that's had that experience. And that is how common that experience is. And the reason why I think this is a way to illustrate how we keep patriarchy alive is because it shows how generally women learn to treat other women versus men. And it illustrates how in patriarchy we tend to downplay women's gifts. And in patriarchy, the way I'd like to describe it is patriarchy is a system of beliefs that puts a high priority on productivity, on logic, on status, on money, on like resources, and kind of like a rank. If you think it, well, that's the same as status. Whereas the opposite side of what patriarchy is putting more priority towards are all the things that patriarchy kind of belittles, and that are that is stuff like intuition, emotions, nature, even like the cyclical growth of nature. Like if you think of any corporation, the typical view of any corporation and big business is very patriarchal in the sense that it completely goes against nature, where in nature things grow in a cyclical way. Things have a season of growth and then a season of dying off, and then they grow again. Whereas in big business, it's always like, let's grow more than we did last year and last quarter. And it's just like more. And it's very unsustainable and it's very unhealthy. And in order to participate in a system that is like that, we have to set aside the nature of our own bodies. And so bringing this back to how this translates into us thinking that we are too much for love, thinking that we need to shrink in love, and this just like feeling of fear and anxiety of being too much in love. This comes up when we are, we're very ambitious and we are participating in this system that is rewarding us for our ambitions and rewarding us for all of our productivity and rewarding us for all of these goals that we are setting and reaching. Meanwhile, the reality that we are setting aside the nature of our body to do all of that makes it very hard to do the things that patriarchy doesn't really prioritize, which is like really having truly deeply connected and intimate relationships, really having emotional intelligence, really having that time to pause and to connect and to have that downtime, have that rest. A very common thing that patriarchy teaches everyone, not just ambitious women, is that rest is lazy and rest is not productive, and that rest is somehow bad, and rest is somehow something that you can only do if you're like sick in bed. And other than that, like rest needs to be like earned or something like that. So, yeah, I'm very, very passionate about this topic because this is something that not only do I see it a lot in my one-on-one clients and see how moving past these beliefs helps my clients connect to their own bodies first and foremost, and then connect to their friendships and their romantic relationships, and that honestly like ripples out into the rest of their lives. I have also myself gone through this. I have always been a high achiever. I've been like type A type of person, mostly A's in school, and always been very focused on getting the goal, getting the things done. I am a business owner. I run this podcast. Like I'm very much a person who likes to set goals and like reach those goals. And I've been like that for a very long time. And so what I found myself getting into because of that is I found myself in a crossroads in life where I was in finally a very healthy relationship with someone who has very high emotional intelligence. Spoiler alert, he is now my husband. So it was a combination of that plus, like this is going to sound weird, but plus getting a cat who she is just like, I'm looking at her right now. You can't see her on camera, but she is just like the queen of boundaries and the queen of naps and the queen of breaks and resting. And the combination of like witnessing the cat and how, she really embraces that quote unquote feminine side of that rest and that being and setting those boundaries and stuff, plus having a partner who just has such a high emotional intelligence that he's really just like, so how are you feeling in your body right now, and not being able to respond. That really showed me an invitation to step away from the patriarchal conditioning and to explore what would it look like to not have fear that I'm too much. What would it look like to deeply relax into my body? What would it look like to explore what feminine energy is? And yeah, that's why I'm talking about this. So I have some notes for today. And one of the things that I want to kind of describe to you with like the root of the problem besides patriarchy. So I mentioned how patriarchy is kind of like this bird's eye view. It's kind of like the collective trauma, so to speak. It's how the society at large has helped shape what you think about who you're allowed to be in relationships, what you're entitled to, how worthy you are, all those things. But then if you go a little bit more like less bird's eye view and a little bit more personal, because I market this podcast to ambitious women with a history of toxic relationships, you have had moments in your past where you have learned a style of relating that is not exactly healthy. And honestly, patriarchy does that too. It teaches us a style of relating that is not healthy by teaching us at the individual level to cut ourselves off from the quote unquote feminine qualities of that. And I put that in quotes because I think it is a little bit problematic to label certain things as feminine and masculine without mentioning that it has nothing to do with gender. And at the same time, patriarchy affects you based on your gender. Like you're going to benefit from patriarchy if you are born into a male body, and you are probably not going to benefit from patriarchy if you're born into a female body. And yeah, so because you have had a history of toxic relationships, chances are you have learned a toxic way of relating at home with caretakers. Because the weird thing about when it comes to like romance and relationships is that we are playing out the same situation that happened to us when we were young and vulnerable, and we had a caretaker that was supposed to be there for all of our needs. However it is that that caretaker shows up for us, however attentive they were to our needs, however able they were to meet our needs in a way that is that made us feel safe and seen and heard. However that experience went, that is like your training ground and your first experience of a relationship. That is your very first experience of a relationship. And so that is kind of like your school teaching you this is what relationships are like. And so there was, if you have a history of toxic relationships, that most likely will mean that there was something that you learned in the relationships with your caretakers that was not necessarily healthy, that was in some way toxic. Because then when you started dating, we subconsciously, and I know this can sound really weird, we subconsciously create the kind of same situation from our childhood in a way where we are seeking, until we, notice this and work on this, we are seeking people that in some way mirror the same qualities that the caretaker we had that was not able to meet our needs has. And so this is why we'll end up in a relationship where the needs that weren't met in childhood are again not met, because we are going after people that don't have the capacity to meet those needs in a way that we need those needs met. And the way out of this is, first of all, learning about this and hearing about this now. And I really hope that if you are someone who is hearing this for the first time, that this is helpful for you to hear. Because for me, it was very mind-blowing and fascinating. And I love to nerd out about these psychology things. But learning about it, and then secondly, realizing that you're not a child anymore. You're not a vulnerable person anymore that needs an external person to meet all of your needs. And that you, as an adult now, gets to meet the needs of your inner child. And what this is going to do is it is going to shift this habit of looking for a partner that can meet your unmet childhood needs, because you yourself are meeting your own childhood needs. And what this does then, instead of looking for quote unquote flawed people that are unable to meet your needs, to meet those unmet childhood needs, your unmet childhood needs are now being soothed by your current adult self. And then your desires, your subconscious desire in romantic relationship is different, because you don't want that person to meet those unmet childhood needs. You don't want that person that doesn't have that capacity anymore, because you yourself have stepped up to be a person that has more self-intimacy. And essentially what you have done, I hope that all of this makes sense, but essentially what you have done in this process is you have heightened your capacity for intimacy. So then going after partners that are more emotionally available is something that feels safer. Whereas before, when you have those unmet childhood needs and you yourself are not meeting your unmet childhood needs, it feels very unsafe to get into relationships with people who have high emotional intelligence and who can actually meet your needs. Like, it feels a little bit like, oh, why are you being so nice to me? Like, oh, like, back off. But if you can meet those needs yourself and, get the support of maybe a therapist that is very, very helpful, then you start to build this confidence. I think the reason why the confidence comes is because you start to learn that you are worthy of love, that you deserve that love, and then you kind of stop self-sabotaging in the realm of romantic relationships. I hope that this is all resonating. If you are watching this on YouTube and you have any questions so far, I really invite you to type them in the comments below. I would love to see what questions you have, and I would love to support you by answering them. So bringing this back to, I'm just looking at my notes, bringing this back to, let me just take a sip of water. Bringing this back to the kind of identity of being an ambitious woman. Hyperproductivity can be a trauma response. Something that is very common with ambitious women with a history of toxic relationships is having an anxious attachment style. And when we have an anxious attachment style, we are the person in the relationship or the person, when we're dating, who is constantly ruminating, who is constantly trying to do things to prove their worth. In personal or professional life, it can look like constantly going after like certifications or courses, or like just like constantly doing stuff, maybe even overriding your body to wake up at 5:30 a.m. every day, even though sometimes your body needs extra sleep, and you're like, no, I'm going to power through this. And it just comes from this place of again, it's that like worthiness and deservingness. It's that I need to keep doing and keep going, because if I don't, then I have to face this truth, quote unquote truth, that's actually not true, that I don't deserve love and that I am too much and that I need to shrink, all of those things. The hyperproductivity kind of distracts us from feeling our feelings that we need to feel in order to start to resolve the kind of like perpetual race of like carrying all of our trauma from our past, from our childhood and our past toxic relationships with us into everyday life. When we can pause and stop, we can actually address that. We can digest it, we can integrate it, and we can let that shit go. Does that make sense? Okay, let me just look at my notes again. Okay, we talked about hyperproductivity being a trauma response. Again, I hope that you can see how even that hyperproductivity, how that is tied to patriarchy again. Like, we are trained, because patriarchy really prioritizes productivity and status and money and all those things. We're kind of trained to be hyper productive because, especially if you don't come from like multi-generational wealth or something like that, it feels like, or if you're a person of color, it's like you have to work twice as hard as everyone else. And if you're a woman, you feel like you have to work twice as hard as a man to be taken seriously in the workplace. And that doesn't help. So there's like that personal trauma from, growing up and that past relationships. But then if you again zoom out into the patriarchal society, you can see how there's all of these things that are kind of training you to believe that you have to keep doing things and keep achieving to prove your worth, when really all of that stuff is stopping you from really connecting to healthy love, because all of that stuff is stopping you from really connecting with yourself. So I think that's a good transition into talking about the power of slowing down. And before we talk about the power of slowing down, let's slow down right here. So take a breath, breathe out all of your air, and then take a nice, slow, deep breath in through your nose. And breathe out through your mouth with some sound. I'm doing that again because I know from my decade of experience guiding people through deep breaths, it is very hard for people to allow themselves to actually make noise when they exhale. So take another deep breath in. And really let it out as you exhale. Make a weird noise. Make a grunt. Make a scream if that's what you need to do. Make some noise. Again, slow, deep breath in through the nose. And breathe out through the mouth with some sound. Maybe this time you're even shaking your body, shaking your arms, shaking your limbs, shaking your legs, shaking your booty, shaking your chest. And then taking one more deep breath in through the nose and one more exhale with sound. And if you are in a space where it is safe to do so, so please don't do this if you're driving, taking a moment to be still and closing your eyes. And this time, not breathing any particular way, just allowing your body to breathe naturally. And just notice, when are you breathing in? Notice, when are you breathing out? Noticing where you can feel your breath. Can you maybe feel it in your belly? Can you feel it in your chest? Can you feel it in your shoulders? Maybe you can feel your breath at that space right below the nose and right above the upper lip. Sometimes you can feel your breath as you exhale through the nose there. Just noticing, where do you feel your breath the most? And seeing if you can rest your attention on this spot, resting your attention on the breath and the spot in your body where you can feel your breath the most. And I invite you to feel into how beautiful it is that you get to breathe. Feeling into how blessed you are for having air to breathe. Feeling into the divine magic of what is happening every time you breathe in and breathe out. Feeling into that exchange of nutrients from the oxygen going into your bloodstream, and feeling into that relief of breathing out, letting go of CO2 in your bloodstream. Just feeling into what a miracle it is that your body is so intelligent that you can allow it to just breathe on its own without you needing to intentionally do anything. And then I'm just going to guide you to relax more deeply into your body by just bringing your awareness. We're going to scan your awareness from head to toe. So just gently bringing your awareness to the very tippy top of your head. And bringing your awareness down to your forehead, to your eyebrows and your eyes. Seeing if you can relax your eyebrows and your eyes. Letting your eyes sink into their sockets. And then bringing your attention and awareness to the cheeks of your face, to your upper lip, your lower lip. Bringing your attention and awareness to your tongue and to the back of your tongue. And as you do this, seeing if you can release the jaw and bring your attention and awareness to the jaw. And then bringing your attention and awareness to your neck, noticing the front of the neck, the right side of the neck, the left side of the neck, the back of the neck, the tops of the shoulders. And taking a breath here with the shoulders, taking a breath in. And as you breathe out, maybe, just maybe, your shoulders can relax a little bit more. And then noticing, bringing your attention and awareness to your upper arms, to your elbows, to your forearms, to your wrists, to your palms, the back of your hands, and to all 10 fingertips, or how many fingertips you might have. Resting in this awareness, seeing if you can lean back into the role of the observer, where you are observing the inner world of your body. And then bringing your attention and awareness once again to your shoulders, and once again taking a deep breath here in through the nose and out through the mouth with some sound as you allow the shoulders to relax, even if it's just a sliver of a hair more than they were already relaxed before. And then from your shoulders, bringing your awareness to your chest, to your upper back, to your mid back and belly, to your lower back, to your hips. Bringing your awareness to the upper legs, bringing your attention and awareness to your knees, to your lower legs, and noticing now your ankles, the heels of your feet, the arches of your feet. Bringing your attention and awareness to the entirety of both feet. And then resting your intention and awareness onto all 10 tips of your toes. And noticing what's coming up within you. Noticing if the mind might be offering up some thoughts, and seeing if you can lean back into that perspective of the observer and kind of let those thoughts float by. And as you observe, seeing if you can really rest into your body. When you drop into your body, you start to feel at the body level safe to receive healthy love. When you drop into your body, you start to cultivate a very strong foundation for natural confidence, because you are relaxing in yourself. And to relax in yourself is to accept yourself. And to accept yourself is to be able to share yourself confidently. It happens naturally the more you make space to slow down. And when you take the time to slow down with your body, you create self-intimacy. And when you create self-intimacy and self-connection, you are able to have an overflow of that connection and intimacy that can come with you into romantic relationships, and even into friendship, and even into leadership. It obviously is going to look different in all those areas of life, but it starts with you slowing down and connecting with your body. So taking your time to gently transition out if your eyes are still closed. Gently fluttering your eyes open. Maybe looking around the space that you're in and specifically noticing 3 things. And just grounding yourself back into the space that you're in. Yeah, so this whole topic of feeling too much for love, this whole topic of fearing that you are asking for too much, that you're being too much, it really all comes back to just connecting with your body. And it's not about fixing your body or fixing yourself. It's about feeling your body again. It's about feeling yourself. It's about that connection with yourself, and how that connection with yourself creates such a strong foundation for you to connect with the external world. And this is why I genuinely just love what I do so much, because I teach people how to connect with themselves. And in connecting with yourself, even though I am a certified female sexuality coach and a certified relationship coach, I see how that connection with yourself does not just affect relationships and sexuality, but it ripples out into all of life. You start to connect more with creativity. You start to connect more with anyone and everyone that you come across in your life, the people that you care about. You start to have more capacity to notice what it is that you desire and to actually create the opportunities to make those desires real. And so, let's see. So this is why embodiment is such a magical practice. Embodiment really is just connecting with your body and taking the time to let what is happening in your body be seen by you. And so a meditation can be an embodiment practice, dance can be an embodiment practice, any type of movement or breath work can be an embodiment practice. And yeah, it honestly is just life-changing. I lost my train of thought there. But if you enjoyed this episode and you are someone who might have that fear of, am I too much for love? And maybe you resonated with all of the things that I mentioned today about really needing to connect with your body. And you liked my guided meditation, if you liked the way I guided it, if you liked my voice, I think that's very important. I really invite you, if you're an ambitious woman who wants to reclaim her radiance and really connect with healthy love, whether you're single or you're already in a relationship and you want to be more connected to that person, I really truly invite you to join me in Heart Magic. Heart Magic is a breast massage course that I created in 2022. And as of the time of this recording, I'm currently updating it. And as of the time that this episode is live, the wait list is open. The program is going to reopen this fall. And this is a course that not only teaches you breast massage in various ways, there are a couple of different breast massage practices in there, but it also teaches you body connection and how to resource yourself when resistance or when, taking the time to stop and connect with our bodies, because it can be so new for a lot of us. It can be very triggering. And so I offer these practices in Heart Magic in a way that uses specific language to allow you to honor your body in a way where you can still show up every day for the practice and you are honoring what is going on with you instead of overriding yourself to do a practice every day. There are options for what to do when it's feeling like too much. And there are resources in there to help guide you to basically the entire course is to help guide you back to your body, to help you connect with yourself in a sensual way, and to help heighten your sensitivity, help heighten your connection with your body and your sensuality. And this is, I think, one of the most powerful and underrated practices to be able to open yourself up for self-intimacy and therefore intimacy within sexuality, within a partner. And yeah, I really believe in heart magic, and it's also a program that I like to go through myself as a student. So if you'd like to join me for that this fall, I will include the link below. I've also been working on a little guide for you to get a little bit of a taste, and it's called I think I titled it the Sensual Self-Love Guide for Ambitious Women Reclaiming Their Radiance. So I will pop that in the comments. That's either the title or it's the title, something like that. So that'll be in the caption or the comments below for you to get a little bit more of this body connection action. And yeah, I hope that this episode helped normalize for you that whenever you have felt that, whenever the thought, I am too much or I'm asking for too much, has come up in the realm of relationship or sexuality for you, I hope that this episode helps you know that A, you are not alone, and B, this is just a lie that was placed into your soul and mind in order to get you to be a quote unquote good girl, to follow the rules of patriarchy. And I hope that this episode helps you realize that that lie of being too much in love is not helpful and is something that just helps you shrink in love. And that because this is just a belief from patriarchy and an outside world thing, that you have the resources available to, I know that you have the resources available to reverse this because you're listening to this podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're also listening to other podcasts about this topic, or you're reading books, or, you know, you have access to the internet. You have, maybe you're joining my Heart Magic course. Maybe you decide to be a coaching client of mine. Maybe you have a coach. Because you are here, it shows me that you have the resources to really step into the deeply connected, healthy love that you desire. And I'm here for you every step of the way, and I celebrate you for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.